Hey everyone, Diavolo here, and in today's video, we're going over what I think to be one of the most underrated fights from throughout Jujutsu Kaisen. Like, I don't know why, but when this fight first dropped, people were going around talking a bit of smack here and there, calling the Culling games boring and underwhelming, which makes absolutely no sense, especially like when you look at what is currently going on in the story. Like, oh my lord. The foreshadowing for future events that are now unfolding in the story that are teased throughout this brutal showdown are amazing, and I think everyone who first thought otherwise needs to quickly head into the re-evaluation chamber. This fight here follows our slash kill wannabe Megumi and is extremely important first battle throughout the Tokyo colony from inside of Kenjaku's world-altering Culling game. Plus, this is also the last time we see Fushiguro for a good while inside of the Culling game, so just sit back and enjoy yourselves as we go over these top tier hands. So a tiny bit of like relative information on how our boy ended up in this situation just before we do get into the video. Well, after both Yuji and Megumi enter the colony together, they find themselves independently moved to one of 9 different spawn locations. After a few scuffles and just the usual Gege info dump with his new characters and techniques, the duo managed to meet up with some new people who know where their first target is inside of the Tokyo colony. Yet, sadly Megumi is completely and utterly duped by this cute ass chick, and instead of being led to Higuruma, he was actually brought into a trap where Reggie Star, an old school sorcerer from a few hundred years back, was lying in wait. But yeah, anyway, hopefully that brings you all up to date on how the current events have unfolded. Anyway, enough of that, let's get into this video. Immediately, Reggie is like, oh well, I guess this talk is broken down, causing a random fodder player to shoot out behind Megumi and try to attack him with a set of claw hands. So obviously this dude is another of the guys I like to call body modification curse users. With Yuji we had the cap dude and of course the rocket hair girl. Now we've got Clawman right here. Megumi manages to slip into this dude's shadow. Then as this divine dog attacks Reggie, he reappears from below the fodder Clawman, picking him up and simply throwing his ass off the side of the building. As per usual though, Megumi always double taps his opponent and commands Nue to dive bomb him, shocking the player and slamming him into the ground below, probably murking him. Back in the building, 2 kitchen knives are suddenly shoved into the divine dog's mouth, incapacitating the Shikigami. As Megumi turns back, Reggie says that he knows what he's up to, and warns his adversary he'll die if he doesn't fight for real. On cue, a random eye suddenly appears over the side of the building next to Megumi and abruptly detonates, causing an explosion which almost takes out even Reggie. Above them, we find a player named Iori Hazanoki, one of Reggie's allies and another of those body modification users. The now one-eyed sorcerer begins breaking off some more of his teeth while asking if their target is dead. However, Megumi is seen quickly darting out of the smoke and immediately avoiding a follow-up attack sent by Remy. He manages to grab her hair and slams her onto the ground. Aggressively, he asks her if she's had enough, but before she can answer, Hazanoki jumps down from the floor above and tosses his teeth at Megumi. At the same time, Reggie also sends through a few receipts that transform into gas and splash all over Megumi, soaking him. Then, in some crazy ass combination with the gasoline, Hazanoki detonates his teeth, resulting in a massive blast that erupts through the top of the building, seemingly taking out both Remy and Megumi. Exiting a room, Reggie asks if they're finished, but Hazanoki says he saw Megumi duck into another room to avoid taking damage. Inside of that said room, Megumi moves a door that he used to protect himself and Remy and asks her if she understands now, as the explosions could have easily killed her as well, proving that she's completely and utterly disposable. Megumi tries to leave her behind, but Remy attempts to stab him again with her hair. Then instantly switching up, she desperately begs Megumi to say that he likes her and that he will protect her. Disgusted, Megumi realizes that Remy is the type of trash who only cares about words rather than someone's actions. Chizuru, so like remember that random dude Megumi disposed of right at the start of the scuffle? Well, it turns out he didn't actually die, and stupidly the man decides to rejoin the battle. He compliments Megumi for getting the better of him before, but notes that the student must be in rough shape now. He mentions it was a pain scaling the building, and hearing this, Megumi is like, yo, what are you dumb dude, why didn't you take the stairs? Suddenly, both of their Koganes appear and announce that a new rule has been added to the Culling game. So this is obviously the point in the arc that Yuji and Higuruma's battle ends, with him finally adding that new rule. Surprised and reinvigorated, Megumi smiles. Instantly, he restarts the fight, kicking the fodder full back and summoning his prolific Max Elephant, which materializes inside of the building, completely destroying the upper floors as it comes thundering down. Sticking with lightning itself, Megumi then uses Nue to catch himself, allowing him to mount Chizuru in midair. After getting on top and still falling, Megumi slashes his face over and over with the hilt of his sword before jumping off and kicking him into the ground below. Having crashed heavily into the ground, Chizuru curses Megumi. Yet, before he can even get up, Megumi, who ain't no damn Yuji, simply slashes his face open with his sword and eliminates him.
For a moment, Megumi questions what he's doing because they'll need more points in the future, but quickly refocuses by reminding himself that Tsukumi won't have to participate in the killing now. As Kogain rewards him with 5 points, Megumi reaffirms to himself that he just needs to deal with the difficulties as they come. Descending down to ground level where their opponent is, Reggie is left surprised and even embarrassed by Chizuru's lack of skill. Back with our boy, he notices that he's still outnumbered 2 to 1 and is now feeling the effects of the first explosion. Thinking on what to do for a moment, he deduces that he can't flee or use his domain expansion because the environment still isn't compatible with his technique. Before he can think up of anything to do, Hazanoki abruptly spits out another one of his bomb teeth, but completely and utterly out of nowhere, someone literally no one saw coming showed up and took the blast face first like an actual champion to protect him. As all of them stand there utterly confused, the newcomer named Fumihiko Takaba, who was the failing comedian that I introduced right at the end of the previous Jujutsu Kaisen video, or it might have even been the one before that one now. Well, he, in one of them like superhero level voices, states that 2-on-1 fights are unfair, and calls Reggie and his minion complete cowards. He adds that their attacks have done 0 damage, however it's shown that the attack completely busted open his face and head, making it clear that he was in fact hurt, confusing Megumi. Looking at Megumi, Takaba decides to help him, because their 35-year-old can tell whether someone is good or bad just by their face. Yet, after looking at him again, he realizes that Megumi actually has a bad face, but writes it off as all revisionist, which is just obviously wrong, he meant to say relative. Megumi is just left stunned with this new person, but regardless of his personality, this random man just saved him, so the Jujutsu High student is willing to trust him for now. Reggie and Hazanoki don't even recognize Takaba, so they try asking what time period he's from. Takaba though, who isn't even listening to them, explains that his costume is based on a funny superhero, causing his intimidation factor to suddenly flare up, while preparing to tell another absolutely terrible joke. The enemy duo prepare for an attack, but Takaba darts into a JoJo-esque pose and tells a joke that gets a dead silent reaction. Takaba screams that damn, it's a tough crowd, but continues to hype himself up nonetheless. Even though his opponents are stiff, Takaba will continue to do what he does best because he's an entertainer of the highest degree. He screams, flying forward and delivering an insane double-footed flying dropkick that connects with Hazanoki's face, sending him crashing into a nearby building. Standing there, Reggie notes the shift in Takaba's output of curse energy and quickly realizes that the failing comedian is actually super strong. Takaba, stunting on all of them, does a handstand while explaining that he's an old school performer who's pro-violence. Using the confusion to his advantage, Megumi tries to launch a surprise attack on Reggie from his own shadow, but his foe manages to jump away from the ground in time to avoid it. Now back with his new teammate, Megumi tries to explain to him Hazanoki's exploding body parts, but only ends up getting annoyed, telling Takaba to stop getting so close to his face. Bringing out Kogain, they use him to confirm that Higuruma was indeed the one who added the new rule. He's surprised and is sure to see that Yuji had completed their mission. Because of this, he states that he's done with this colony, and tells Reggie he'll let him go if he backs off. Reggie, just straight up annoyed now, refuses because he needs to make up for his teammates' lost points. Over in that absolutely ruined building, Hazanoki recovers from the dropkick that he just suffered and calls out to Takaba. The comedian though still just absolutely ignores him and instead introduces himself properly to Megumi. Since Takaba is most likely going to end up killing the bomb guy, Megumi requests that he take Hazanoki's points if possible, to which he accepts on the condition that he continues to entertain, as first and foremost he is a performer. Satisfied, Takaba begins sparking, almost exposing himself to the young man, while Hazanoki in return sends an explosive eye directly at him. Not fazed, Takaba simply knocks it away with a random paper fan, then manages to close the distance on his opponent, sliding in behind him and utterly destroying his rectum with Pervy Sage's infamous 1000 years of pain, sending his enemy into a severe bout of pain. Enraged and getting utterly fodderized, Hazanoki swings at him, but Takaba immediately follows up with a powerful kick to his dome that sends his opponent through another building. Standing there, Megumi is left flabbergasted with Takaba's show of strength and expresses that he's glad he isn't his enemy, to which Takaba tells him to stay alive while he goes off and pounds his opponent some more. Over with Reggie, he stands there thinking that Takaba is toast either way, because Hazanoki will go all out after being mocked so much. With his objective complete, Megumi tells his adversary to worry about himself so that he can fight him for real. Instantly, he summons his Max Elephant, leaving Reggie blown away that Megumi has such a large Shikigami in his arsenal. Max Elephant attempts to spray Reggie with a torrent of water, but he somehow manages to dart away from the burst. Attempting to take him by surprise, Megumi leaps from the building above, but Reggie notices in time and throws a receipt which transforms into a net and ensnares the recently created rabbits. Megumi himself though narrowly avoids the net and jumps onto a chain-linked fence to break his fall. As Megumi jumps back into the road, Reggie activates his innate curse technique, Contractual Recreation, and transforms several receipts into kitchen knives. Those said knives fly forward towards Megumi as projectiles, but he's able to deflect them with a blade of his own. Some rabbits are pierced by these knives, allowing Reggie to surmise that unlike the other Shikigami, they can reappear regardless of how many are destroyed. Reggie figures that Megumi has likely figured out how his curse technique works. Due to this, he uses a receipt to recreate the contract and endows himself with a relaxing 2-night stay at a 5-star Japanese inn. In contrast, Megumi is worn down from the constant fighting, on top of having used several Shikigami, lowering his overall capacity. Reggie surmises that Megumi can't reconjure his Shikigami after they're injured, and without the flexibility the Divine Dog provides him, he's limited in his options. The old schooler adds that both of them lack big finishing moves and will need to pick away at each other over time to achieve victory. To which Megumi is like, yeah nah bro, in that case I'm absolutely fucked, so I'ma run for now. Out of nowhere, Noe then swoops down grabbing Megumi. However, Reggie quickly summons the Trash Taste Boys drones, equipped with the lost luggage cameras to follow his opponents through the sky while he watches on a phone. Then summoning a moped, Reggie begins to pursue his adversary through the streets and tracks Megumi's position to a gymnasium. Reggie questions whether he really tried escaping, or if he's in fact trying to lure the fight inside. Inside of the gym, Megumi is glad to see that the area is spacious. Looking up though, he suddenly sees Reggie appear on the balcony, who asks what his opponent is plotting. Megumi replies that Big Reggie is likely planning something as well, and the latter claims that it's hard to tell because sorcerers are nothing but con artists. Which is completely and utterly true, and I love the whole idea of Reggie's thoughts on sorcerers here. It's all about like conning your enemy into believing you've played your final move, but actually you've just laid a trap and conned him into a false sense of security. Anyways, let the main part of this absolutely insane battle begin. Suddenly, 2 trucks appear out of nowhere and come crashing through the walls of the building. Acting quickly, Megumi is just able to slip under the vehicles, yet as he watches them crash into the other wall, 2 potted plants are recreated above Megumi that drop down onto his head, cracking his skull open. Reggie follows up by repeatedly slicing Megumi's back and left arm with a small knife. Megumi tries to retreat, but gets distracted by the unorthodox projectile Reggie had just created. He's taken off guard when the silly old carrot begins to break apart and reveals a hidden kitchen knife inside. Shooting forth, the knife stabs directly into Megumi's elbow, while Reggie then follows up with a brutal front kick to his face. Having been knocked down, Megumi slides across the gym floor, thoroughly overpowered. It's explained that the things Reggie recreates behave like Shikigami. Obviously knives and other things like that can't normally fly through the air, but Reggie is able to get them to do so with a single command. Big freaking Megumi though, a man made of a much darker material, responds by stating that barrier techniques are difficult for him, and he's simply unable to make an artificial environment over a real one. However, Megumi doesn't need to physically create a barrier. No. Instead, he can use the entire gymnasium as a perfect space for his domain. As planned, Megumi casts his goddamn domain expansion, the insane Chimera Shadow Garden, and forcibly encloses the barrier around the gym to trap Reggie inside, sealing his fate. Reggie, who really didn't think Megumi was a sorcerer capable of using domain expansion, is utterly taken by surprise. Immediately though, he activates his special anti-domain technique called Hollow Wicker Basket, which if you see my video going over like all of the JJK barrier types, you know that this is the original form of the current simple domain. Reggie believes he successfully protected himself from the domain until 4 toads appear from the liquid below his feet and wrap up both his legs with their tongues. Confused, Reggie doesn't understand how he's been hit after using Hollow Wicker Basket. It's explained that technically Reggie's technique does nullify the said guaranteed hit from a domain, but because big old Megumi's domain isn't complete and doesn't actually have a can't miss attack, it only serves as an extension to his cursed energy and 10 shadows technique. That sole imperfection has taken Reggie off guard, and Megumi notices his expression change. Before Reggie can finish berating Megumi for getting cocky, he's ambushed by 2 shadow clones. Reggie is unable to avoid the barrage of hits due to the toad's tongues preventing his movements. After getting pummeled over and over, Reggie falls back to the ground and summons combat knives to sever the toad's tongues. Free to move again, he summons a machete and prepares the counter-attack. However, Megumi's clone prevents Reggie from gaining any momentum by coming up from below to grab his leg. Then the clone throws Reggie towards Megumi's main body, who's also armed with his sword and already bringing it down on Reggie. Somehow though, Reggie is able to block this attack, like his reflexes are literally insane here, but now the Uno reverse card's been played by our boy, and it's a 3-on-1 with the other Shadow clone appearing and elbowing him directly in the dome. Heavily damaged now, Reggie just narrowly defends a slash from Megami and commends the sorcerer for his increased function of the curse technique, considering it worse than a lethal domain. Reggie is aware that if Megami uses Max Elephant and showers him with water, he'll lose this fight. Refusing to allow that to happen, he activates his curse technique and releases a multitude of receipts into the air above his head. Megami tries to destroy the receipts using Nue, but it's just not quick enough to stop Reggie's contractual recreation from activating. 3 cards are suddenly generated from the receipts, which drop straight into the shadowy floor. Reggie understands that the entire domain is Megami's shadow, but noticed that Megami has only kept 1 curse tool on him for the length of this entire fight. He theorizes that this is because Megami has to bear the weight of anything kept within his shadow, and now Reggie is using the cards to turn the domain's conditions back on Megami. Having been forced to the ground under the immense weight, Reggie believes Megami might be able to summon Shikigami still, so he keeps his guard up and plans to keep on piling weight until his opponent is completely crushed. Megami though, like we all learnt this throughout the first battle against that silly old cursed womb, he literally is insane and the dude does not care about life anymore, to the point that he tells Reggie he's forgotten something important. He reminds him that an incomplete domain is still a domain, and there is shadow all around the both of them. Megami, who doesn't care, suddenly conjures Max Elephant from the shadows above Reggie, causing the massive Shikigami to drop down directly on top of him. Having turned their fight into a 10 weightlifting competition, Megami remains confident as he asks Reggie which of the 2 of them will be crushed first. It's explained that the average human being can withstand about 5 to 6 units of G-force before losing consciousness. Megami weighs 60 kilograms and is currently carrying 2.4 tons of weight, which equates to 40 units of G-force. A fully matured elephant weighs 3 to 6 tons, and Megami's domain increases the precision of his curse technique, replicating Max Elephant's weight realistically. With that intense weight falling atop him, Reggie fractures his right fibula and heel bone due to the pressure alone. He then laments over not saving the trucks he used earlier for more weight at this moment. He's been soaked with water by Max Elephant, but there are still receipts he can release, including the special ace that he has up his sleeve. Reggie wonders if he can enter the shadow below him to release his ace and finish off Megami. He dismisses this idea though, because anything caught in the shadow after it's dispelled might be unable to escape. Furthermore, he's unsure of what it's actually like inside of the sticky shadowy substance. He decides this option is too risky and tries to withstand the elephant's weight while releasing his ace attack. Reggie attempts to hold up the elephant with one arm while taking out another receipt, but before he can fully activate his contractual recreation, Reggie succumbs to Max Elephant's immense weight and falls into the shadow below him. Without any buoyancy or resistance inside of the shadow, Reggie falls and begins to lose consciousness due to the lack of oxygen. Laying there above his likely defeated opponent, Megami waits until he's sure that Reggie is dead before dispelling the domain and emptying his shadow. Suddenly, and coming back like a damn king riding one of his cars, Reggie flies back, exploding through to the surface. Rescued from certain demise now, he commends Megami's strength and admits he's a strong sorcerer before immediately stating that he's even stronger though. He activates another contractual recreation and summons a small 2-story freaking wooden house that weighs at least 30 tons to crush Megami. In the next second, Megami makes an extremely drastic move. Despite using his ace, Reggie somehow abruptly finds himself underwater again and being strangled from behind. As explained now, Megami is using his extreme weight to drown Reggie, but because of just the immense force that's being placed on him, he has to deactivate the curse technique and unregister the weight of the objects before he does actually end up dying himself. Coming to, Reggie is able to swim back to the surface and realizes that he's inside of a pool on the basement level of the gymnasium. Megami fled back into his shadow and entered the domain, making it so that the house broke the floor and forced Reggie into the pool below. It's unclear how Megami was able to move despite the immense weight, but Reggie theorizes that he did so by ejecting himself from the shadow, kinda like a seesaw. Megami strolls up on his opponent and tells Reggie his receipts are too wet to use now. Normally, splashing the receipts with water isn't enough to make the print fade, so that alone isn't enough to stop Reggie from reducing things. However, soaking the receipts prevents Reggie from fulfilling the condition that requires burning of the receipts. Reggie also notes that Megami can't summon Shikigami anymore, to which the sorcerer agrees, stating that from now on, this is a straight up physical fight to the death. Reggie though doesn't actually believe this. He expects Megami to summon a Shikigami and plans on countering Megami as soon as he lets up. Darting in, Regi's initial bait attack gets palmed off, but as he planned, he uses that momentum to send Megami's sword arm bouncing back. Having no defense left, Regi lets loose with a multitude of kicks, smashing the young sorcerer over and over again. Megami admits that Regi is a tough opponent, made evident by his ability to withstand Max Elephant. He's also a talented martial artist with some really dope-ass techniques, but he just isn't fast enough. Just before Regi is able to land a direct hit on Megami, a portion of the far left side of Regi's face, his ear, and much of his left shoulder are completely sheared off by someone he thought that he'd dealt with already. Having suffered a lethal blow at blinding speed, Regi looks back to see no one other than the divine dog, Totality, which is just pissed at him. Like the dog even has 2 scars in its nose from the knives. It's explained that Megami was waiting until Regi had completely dismissed the dog, and hearing this, Regi repeats that a sorcerer is indeed nothing but a con artist as he collapses to the ground in a pool of his own blood. Regi lays bleeding out on the ground, looking up at Megami, and realizes that the domain and the pool concealed that Megami could still strike with his divine dog. Megami didn't flee into the gym using Niue, instead he'd lured Regi inside. Standing above him, Megami inquires as to what Regi's relationship to Master Tengen is. It's shown that there really isn't much of a relationship, he only knows him as the hermit who is immortal and isn't surprised to find out he's still alive at this time. Defeated with dignity, Regi tells his Kogain to transfer all 41 of his points to Megami, which our boy is a little annoyed about, but Regi tells him to just consider it a good deed before death. He adds that he's just a spectator and isn't close with Kenjaku at all. With his final words said, Regi tells his executioner to let fate toy with him before he also dies like a fool. Moments later, Megami receives 5 points for the death of Regi Star. Damn, it's actually such a firefight. Like, I love how much foreshadowing for future events are peppered throughout the story here. Like, is that how Megami is gonna end up dying? Having Sukuna, who is fate in this context, I guess, toy with him before he kills him like a fool. And again, those who are like past chapter 200 now also know Big Regi was correct when it came to this just being the beginning of something even larger. So that officially brings us to the very end of this Megami versus Regi fight, obviously, as Regi has passed away here. So many foreshadowings throughout this fight, but before we do move any further and talk about them for a second before the end of the video, I just want to thank you all again for 100,000 subs. The plaque has finally turned up, which is absolutely amazing, and you know, I can't thank you all enough for it, like I've said plenty of times in the last few videos, but this is a huge goal of mine, so you know, like, we're just going to keep pushing forward and strive to get that, you know, like, million subscriber plaque now, as the momentum and the enthusiasm I've gotten after like receiving this has been absolutely amazing, and I'm enjoying making videos than I have, I think, ever in the past beforehand. I don't know why exactly, but I'm just absolutely loving what I'm doing right now, and I hope to be able to bring, you know, like, more great videos from a bunch of different series to my channel throughout the future. But again, this fight with Megami and Regi, there is so many foreshadowings that happen throughout it, with stuff currently being explained in the story that we've seen over chapter 200, and now with Kenjaku over in the US, literally inside of the freaking White House, and then again with Megami being told that he may also die like a fool, which is extremely interesting. So I wonder if he's going to get his plans or his goals achieved, and then Megami may end up dying like a fool. I'd love to know what you guys think down in the comment section below, so make sure you do drop a comment down there. And if you guys are new around here and want to watch more stuff just like this for a multitude of different series, then make sure you hit that subscribe button, and also be sure to leave a like on the video, as it really helps out with pushing my content to a bunch of new amazing people. But anyway, enough of that. For now, it's been your professional degenerate Diavolo, and I will see you all in a bit. Bye.